might be wondering, why would someone like me question the doctrine of hell outside of trying to win friends and influence people? I mean, why would I question something that has been orthodoxy and a mutual consensus in religion for practically 2,000 years? Well, the truth of it is that I was a fully devoted evangelical Christian until a few years ago. I was involved in ministry, I taught Bible studies, I read through my Bible probably at least 9 times cover to cover. So what would make me question such a thing? It all started with me learning about the Hebrew perspectives on scriptures. For the first time in my life, I realized how much we had actually missed of the meaning of our Bibles by our Western lenses and assuming that we knew what we were talking about. Suddenly, the scriptures came alive with layers of rich meaning and numerology and symbolism that I was never even aware of in my modern Western Christian church teachings. And all that made me realize I needed to take a much humbler and more open-minded approach to studying my scriptures. So that was kind of the first chink in the armor. After that, something really unusual happened in the course of my studies. I had learned to start studying out of the Hebrew and Greek interlinear Bibles for myself, and then one day it happened. I discovered my first Bible error. Yep. It's not that the errors hadn't been there before, but this was the first time I came across them or saw them because I had always been taught that my Bible is the authoritative, inerrant Word of God, right? So this one error that I found actually opened my mind to the fact that it was possible that my Bible had errors in the modern translations. And it also led me down a path of researching other things that maybe I had overlooked or just taken other people's words for. And what I found was pretty surprising, which is why I'm doing this video series and why I no longer believe in the doctrine of hell. Also, after that, I began noticing verses that I hadn't seen before that had a much bigger and more promising outlook for humanity than I ever thought possible, and we will look into that also. I have to tell you, though, that the repercussions of me questioning the core beliefs and doctrines of my church and my faith and doctrinal statements led me down a path of some interesting places in my church. For example, from the time I was young, I was always told that I could ask any question and that God was big enough for my questions and that the truth can defend itself, right? We're told those things. But once we actually are sitting in church or in Bible study or in home fellowship group and we start letting some of our more challenging questions surface along with evidence, well, that's kind of where the claws come out. I noticed a completely different atmosphere once I started allowing my questions to surface. First, there was the suspicion. Why is she not studying under male leadership? Why is she not accepting our well-rehearsed answers that have worked on everyone else? Who does she think she is to be studying the Greek and Hebrew without a seminary degree? Why do you think she's not submitting to her husband's leadership? Who among us is she leading astray with these dangerous questions and ideas? Is she actually questioning our doctrinal statement of faith? Next came the isolation. Her questions must be stopped in front of others. She's going to start causing a lot of confusion. Her faith is in question. She is becoming a black sheep among us. We need to shut her down. We need to isolate her from the others before it's too late. She needs to be removed from our fellowship and turned over to Satan until these things have worked out of her. I know it sounds a little ludicrous, but really, this is truly what happens. And pretty soon you find yourself without all the friends that you thought were your true friends and people who loved you because you're questioning too much, you're going against the culture. And really, if you think about it, all these fear-based teachings and isolative behaviors are precisely because of the doctrine of hell. I mean, think about it. If you can build an entire belief system around something that innately teaches people not to question, not to think for themselves, not to notice things that don't add up, well, I mean, if there's no ultimate loss here, then there is nothing that can work to keep people in line, keep them in order, keep them thinking about everything that you want them to believe, and ultimately it's not good for profits. And therein is why I began to question the doctrine of hell. Aside from the fact that there is literally no evidence for such a place, these questions, these problems, these objections are all the things that led me into a year-long intensive study where I practically spent every day poring over the scriptures, both in the Greek and the Hebrew and in the modern translations, history, philosophical perspectives, Jewish perspectives. I read far and wide and as far back as I could in the records to see how I could piece all this together. And really, I'm not alone. Millions of people around the earth are questioning this right now because they know it doesn't add up. So I am going to be sharing with you here the results of that year-long study, how I deconstructed hell, how I became a very joyful, liberated human with a deeper love and commitment to my faith and to God. So I'm excited to have you here. I hope you will subscribe, share this with your friends, and join me for the ride.